Hi everyone, in this video we are going to be looking at 5 things that you need to know before you register for the GRE examination. Some of these things that I am going to talk about are very elementary stuff, things that would apply when you register for the test. Some of the aspects that I am going to talk about are things which are going to matter either how you take the test or on the day of the test. In either case, I would want you to be aware of it even before you register for the examination so that you are prepared for it on the day of the test. We have had students who have come back to us after writing the test or after having their test getting cancelled because they were not aware of some of these aspects, and they told us that I wish I had known this earlier, right? I don't want to find yourself in such a predicament. Therefore, you're going to look at these 5 things. Start with the first one. How do you register for the GRE examination? You register for the GRE examination in their official website. The official website is ets.org. The makers of the test, the people who administer this test, is basically the company called Education Testing Service. Their official website is ets.org. Taking an account in it, registering an account is a very straightforward, simple process. It's like creating any account, let's say with a Facebook or a Gmail or any of those services that you take. Use your email ID, give your personal details, set a password, and you're ready to go, right? This is step number 1. Step number 2, this is very, very important. This is a place where students have been caught off guard quite often. What is the ID requirement to take this test, right? You can't carry your, let's say, college ID and say, hey, this is who I am and therefore let me inside the examination center, or you cannot use your driving license or a voter ID. In India, the only form of proof of identity that used to be valid for taking the GRE examination is a valid passport. What do we mean by a valid passport? A passport which is not expired and it's your passport, right? That is what used to be. Temporarily, right now it's still valid. For the period that the COVID started, the pandemic started, GRE has started allowing students to use their Adhaar Card also as a valid proof of identity. The only thing that you need to keep in mind, be it passport that you are carrying or the Adhaar that you are using, in either case you need to carry the original. It cannot be a photocopy, it cannot be some laminated version of it, it cannot be on your mobile phone. It has to be a physical copy, a hard copy, a original version of either the Adhaar or a valid passport. So these are the ID requirements, and these are the IDs which are permitted for anyone who is taking the GRE right now. It used to be only the passport, now Adhaar is also permitted. Adhaar is valid right now. So if you are writing the examination, the few days before the examination, just check whether Adhaar is still valid, because the website clearly says temporarily Adhaar is an accepted form of ID. What if they remove it on that particular day? You don't want to be caught off guard. So I would say, as a backup, if you don't have a passport right now, get your passport ready and keep it handy. If you're planning to take the test, let's say 3 or 4 months down the line. If you're taking the test in a week or so, the validity of the Adhaar is probably going to be valid even then, so you don't need to really worry. So if it's 3 or 4 months down the line and you don't have a passport or your passport is expiring, my recommendation is get your passport renewed or get your passport in place. Have the Adhaar also in place. On the day of the examination, if Adhaar is valid, wonderful. If Adhaar is not valid, you have a backup, you are not caught off guard. So this is the second point. First one, how to register. Second one, what is a valid proof of identity. Third one, this is a place, let's just spend a little bit more time, right? Where do you want to take the test? Test centers are open. Most test centers are back operational in India. Therefore, you can go and take the test at the center, right? Taking the test at the center has quite a few advantages, right? There are lots of things that you don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry about whether the computer is going to work. You don't need to worry about whether they have a good internet connection. You don't need to worry about whether there is electricity backup. You don't need to worry about someone talking in the background and having a noisy place where you're taking the test. All of these things are taken care of in a test center. Test centers are essentially made to take care of all of these problems that students might face when they're taking the test. You can take the test at home too, nothing wrong with it. Few things I would want you to keep in mind. Taking the test at home is a good option if you live in a place which is far off from the nearest testing center, right? You live in a place from where like going to the nearest test center is 300 kilometers, you probably would not want to travel, you could take the test at home. But keep a few things. I want you to remember 3 things when you are deciding to go for testing at home. First and foremost, does your computer, right? Any good laptop, any good desktop these days will meet the system requirement that is required to take the GRE test at home. See whether it meets it. GRE uses the services of a company called ProctorU. So you can go to the gre.org or ets.org website and they'll have a link for ProctorU, and from there they would give you a place where you can check and figure out whether your system meets the system requirements of taking the test at home. If it flags anything with a red, make sure that you basically correct those things in your system, that your system is exam ready on the day of the examination. If it is not, get corresponding equipment. It could be a webcam, it could be a mic, it could be whatever they ask. See if you can get it and plug it in so that your system meets the requirement. But if you are not able to meet the requirement, then essentially say that, hey, I'm probably not going to be taking the test at home, I'll go and take it at the center. This is point number 1. Point number 2, this is probably a part of the system requirement, but I'm keeping it as a separate point, is that check out that you have a good internet connection. The internet connection should be such that it is able to record your entire thing. The video recording of your entire test happens and it can transmit it, right? It can upload it. All of those features need to be there. If you have a connection which is like basically shaky, which is not a good connection, then basically the proctor at the other end will not be able to see the video of you taking the test. And in that case, the proctor might say that it's not a valid test and the test could get cancelled. So you need to have a good internet connection, probably something of the order of 10 Mbps or 20 Mbps plus connection is what you need to have. I will even go to the extent of saying, take the test if you can have a backup internet connection also. What if this internet connection fails? You do not want to find yourself saying that, hey, the internet connection failed, therefore this test got cancelled, I need to rewrite this examination another time. You don't want that to happen. So if there's a friend who has got an additional internet connection in his place, let's say, go and take it at that place rather than taking it at your place, right? So system requirement, internet connection check. These two are two important things. The third and most important thing is, GRE want to ensure that the test that you take is taken fairly, that there is no unfair advantage or unfair help that you got during the examination, which means that you cannot be taking this examination in the living room of your house. You need to have a calm house where no one walks in, there is no disturbance, there is no external noise that comes in, for two reasons. One, for security reason, that the proctor knows that you are not getting any unfair help. If it's a noisy place, the proctor might say that like, hey, I am not able to figure out the noises that are coming are basically noises which is background noise that you can't help it, or it's like you're getting some help to answer these questions, so I'm going to cancel the test is something that the proctor could very well say. The second thing, leaving the proctor outside, if it's a noisy place, good possibility that you will not be able to concentrate on the question. Think about reading a reading comprehension passage in a place which is noisy. So if you have a noisy environment, if you do not have a room to yourself, if you're trying to take the test in a living room, all of these things are a big no-no. If that is the only place that you can take the examination, then I would recommend go and take it at the test center, right? Test center meets all these requirements. The only thing is you need to find a testing slot availability and you need to travel to that place. These are the two additional pain points that come with it. At home, these pain points are not there, but you need to make sure that these three things that are listed down are things that meet the requirement of a testing environment, right? So more to the fourth point. The fourth point is basically choose 4 programs to operate. What do these mean? This is going to be applicable on the day of the test, right? GRE lets you send your GRE scores free of cost to 4 programs, right? For example, when I say 4 programs, it's not 4 colleges or 4 universities. Let's say I'm applying to a college in the US, let's say New York State University, I'm applying to one of those state universities in New York. I'm applying to MS in Mechanical and I'm applying to MS in Computer Science. Then the scores have to be sent to Mechanical separately and to Computer Science separately. They would typically, like good chance, they have 2 different codes for both these programs. In that case, that's counted as 2 different scores that are being sent. So on the day of the test, you need to inform ets.org that, hey, send my GRE scores to these 4 programs. If you do that, those are available at the price at which you signed up for this test. What if you want to send it to a 5th program? You can send it after you've taken the test. The 5th program, you need to pay a fee for the additional score report. It's called the ASR fee. The ASR fee is $27 for each score report that you request. Remember, all colleges and universities will insist on having this official score report. You cannot take a copy of your score from the ets.org website after you've taken the examination and send that copy to the schools. Schools and colleges will not accept it. They will want an additional official score report. Official score reports beyond these 4 will cost you $27. What if you are not sure how your GRE score is going to be, and therefore you do not want to send the scores to the schools at all when you take the examination? Absolutely no problem. What you would end up spending extra is probably $108 more. Essentially, you are not sending scores to 4 schools. Saying, let me see the GRE score. The GRE score is good. Then let me send it to the schools. Perfectly valid. The 4 score reports that you would have got free of cost, now you'll have to pay $27 to each of that. That is also a valid way to go about it. There are enough students who will say, let me see the score and then decide whether it goes to the school or not. In that case, you can hold back sending the score, see the score, take the examination. At the end of the examination, GRE will ask, do you want to cancel it or do you want to report the score? If you say I want to report the score, then they will show you your unofficial scores. The unofficial score will have the score that you have scored out of 170 in quant, 170 in verbal. The AWS scores will come a little later. So these scores, you'll know what you have got out of 340. You were planning to apply to schools where the median score or the average score is over 320 and you ended up with a 327 overall. You can be, hey, gungo and say, now let me basically send it to these schools. It's good enough score for me to apply to because my schools have an average of 320. I'm well above that, therefore I can send it. You can decide to do that. The only cost you will be spending extra is that $108 extra that you're going to be spending for sending scores to the 4 schools which you would have probably otherwise got it free, right? So this is the basis for it. But let's say you're taking the GRE, you've taken 5-6 marks, been scoring over 330 and over 330 in all of these last 4 marks, right? The last 2 being the official marks given by GRE itself. Sure, even in the worst case scenario, you will get a 325 plus in the GRE, right? If you're scoring well over 330, 330, 332 in 3-4 of your marks, there's a very good chance if on the day of the examination nothing goes wrong, you should get 325 and above, right? Now, you can decide to send your scores to 4 schools for whom the median or average GRE score for the program that you're applying is above 320. You have been scoring over 330, likely that you will definitely score over 325. You're applying to schools where the requirement is only 320 or so, then those are 4 schools that you can send it free, of course. So this is one way to say that I'm covering 4 schools free, and if I end up getting a 335 in the GRE, then I can shoot for better schools. For those schools, I'll pay $27 each. So these are some of the things that you can play in your mind. Plan for these 2, so that you can save some of these $108, right? Move on to the next point, the last one. Check date availability and the fees. The fees for taking the test, whether you do it at home or you do the test center based one, for India it is $213 US, $213 US. That's the cost of taking the test. And know the test date availability. When I say test date availability, right, you typically get more availability at home because it's a 24/7 administration which is possible at home. Test centers, they have obviously time limits as to what time. They probably open at 10 in the morning and they have test slots till about 4 in the evening or something. So figure out, depending upon city and place, these things keep changing. Some cities have multiple testing centers, some towns have only 1 or 2 testing centers. So keep this perspective in mind. Have this in mind. Between 2 GRE tests that you are taking, can you take the GRE test more than once? Certainly yes. How many times can you take it? You can take it up to 5 times in a rolling 12-month window, right? Let's say we are on July 10th, 2022. Between July 10th, 2022 and July 9th, 2023, you can take these examinations 5 times in a row. What is the gap between any 2 testing? The minimum number of days between any 2 tests that you take is 21 days. So let's say you're planning to apply to some colleges and universities. You want to send your application by the 15th of December. My recommendation is take your GRE, the first attempt, by the 15th of November latest. If the GRE is up to the way you wanted a score of 320 plus, you got a 327, good, just seal it and move on with the application process. Go on with the statement of purpose, get recommendation letters, send your application packet, be done with it. What if you wanted to apply with that score and you ended up getting a 318? You know that you can do better. Something did not go right in the first testing attempt. You were a little tense, you weren't well prepared. You know that you can push yourself to a 325 plus if you're given one more chance. So you took the first test on the 15th of November. 21 days from then, which is like give or take 6th or 7th of December or 10th of December, you'll be able to take the GRE again. Get the rest of the things in place. Finish your statement of purpose, finish your recommendation letters from the professors, get all of these in place, get your transcripts in place, right? That on the 10th you finish the GRE, and this GRE attempt, let's say you got a 330 or a 328. Now using this score and all of the rest of the things that you have, you'll be able to send your application by the 15th of December. So if you have a particular date by which you want to send the application, plan to take your first GRE 30 days before at least 30 days before. So if something goes wrong, you have a plan B, you're able to take the second attempt and then move on from there. So what are the things that we discussed? The first thing that we discussed is basically where do you register and take an account, which is at ets.org. The second thing that we discussed is basically what is the ID requirements that you have, right? In India, the ID requirement is basically passport. The third thing that you discussed is should you take it at home or should you take it at the center, and the benefits and the pros and cons of each of those things. The fourth thing we basically looked at is basically decide the 4 programs that you want to send if you want to save that $108, which is the additional score reporting fee. Lastly, what we said is look at the test slot availability and also know the fee for taking the examination. So these are the 5 things I want you to know. Keep in mind before you register for the GRE examination. If you're planning to prepare for GRE, through an online course. We have a very well structured recorded online course available for both the quant and the verbal section. You can take these courses for a duration of 6 months, and these are available on the web through a web. You can access it through a desktop or through a laptop. You can use our Android app or iOS app to learn at your pace, at pace, time and location of your choice. Conversely, if you're one of those students who is a lot more comfortable having a tutor assisted learning, we also have live online classes for the GRE. The next batch starts on the 3rd of August. You can register for it, take a demo with us, speak to our counselors, sign up for it, that in 9 weeks from the time you sign up, you'll be exam ready and you'll be able to take the GRE. Start with the August 3rd batch. Latest by October 31st, you'll be able to take your GRE and get a score which is well above 320 and catch the application deadlines. Best wishes for your GRE preparation.